We have new developments tonight on a topic we've been tracking for months now: Chinese-affiliated companies buying farmland in the U.S. This as they try to build companies in rural America. We first told you about plans in Michigan for a Chinese-backed battery plant there. Now it's happening in Kentucky and Tennessee. A company with ties to China is trying to build 2 battery plants near Fort Campbell that is home to an Army Special Ops aviation unit. But those plans are getting pushback. NewsNation senior national correspondent Brian Enton is live in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, with our investigation. What have you found, Brian?
Elizabeth, first of all, this is really a beautiful part of the country. You mentioned the Army base, Fort Campbell. You can see the helicopter behind me. They've got the base here. There's beautiful farmland. We're told the soil here is among the best in the entire country, which is one of the reasons that the farmers here are so concerned about this Chinese-linked company coming to town. And they say that they are even more worried now because they are learning that the federal government has taken back a $200 million grant that was originally given to the company. Drive around Hopkinsville, Kentucky this time of year, and again you see 4th of July fireworks stands. Hopkinsville, right next to Fort Campbell, is a patriotic place.
How you doing?
How you doing? I'm Brian.
Caleb Ballard.
Nice to meet you. Beautiful area.
Yeah, it is nice.
Farmers like Caleb Ballard are proud of their land and proud of their dirt.
It's the good brown texture you want. It holds moisture.
When news broke that an electric vehicle battery maker called Microvast planned to build a factory and bring almost 600 jobs to town, it seemed like good news. The United States Department of Energy even awarded Microvast a $200 million grant. When you first heard about the $200 million federal grant, I mean, that's a lot of money.
Oh, absolutely.
Were people excited?
We didn't really hear a whole lot about it because everything was kept under the rugs. They said the announcement, they said the grant.
But then the Senate Committee on Energy and Natural Resources in D.C. started investigating, and at public hearings claimed Microvast, with plans to build right here in America's heartland, is connected to one of our biggest adversaries, China.
At the time, more than 60% of Microvast's revenue came from China when you made the announcement, only 1% from the United States. In discussing its products, Microvast CEO bragged that I'm honored that this is a technology we developed here in China. In fact, and I have a sign here, the local branch of the Chinese Communist Party successfully recruited Microvast CEO to return from the United States to China under their talent program.
And now the Department of Energy has suddenly canceled their plans to give Microvast hundreds of millions of dollars.
That really raised red flags. And local leaders were like, they didn't say a lot. And anytime local leaders aren't saying a lot, there's more to be said.
Microvast declined our request for an interview, but in a statement on their website, they made clear Microvast is based in Texas, listed on the NASDAQ, a global company centralized in the U.S., founded by an American citizen. Microvast is not owned in whole or in part by the Chinese government, owned by the Chinese Communist Party, or controlled by China. Even in their CEO Wu Yang's bio, it says Mr. Wu is a U.S. citizen and resides in the United States. But lawmakers say something doesn't add up.
The Department of Energy not only refused to provide transparency to this committee, but they're refusing to be transparent to the American people, who deserve every assurance that their tax dollars are not being funneled to China.
While government funding is cut, at least for now, for Microvast in Kentucky, we found just across the border here in Tennessee, just 30 miles away, Microvast is very much expanding. Clarksville, Tennessee, this is the site where Microvast is building a plant. You can see there's construction happening out front. So there's a sign here with a rendering. I'll try to pull up next to it that shows just how big the whole complex is going to be here. There are definitely a lot of construction workers out here. Kind of interesting, there's a big American flag underneath that like overhang, which is kind of interesting. Clearly the project is well underway here in Tennessee. A project well underway despite the company drawing criticism in our nation's capital, while residents feel left in the dark. It's weird to think that this is happening in Congress, but yet the people here, like, no one seems to know about it.
Right. And I think that's kind of what they want. They want people to be ignorant to the fact that it's going on.
Okay, so the project in Tennessee is ongoing. Back here in Kentucky, the state has now put their $21 million in funding on hold, also trying to figure out what the deal is with this company. And what's interesting, Elizabeth, is the federal government will not say exactly why they pulled the grant, which is adding to a lot of speculation here. And doing the story here in Kentucky and other similar stories around the country, the local officials, the Economic Development Board, the city councils, they just don't really have the resources to really look into these companies. Elizabeth?
So no explanation for why the DOE pulled the grant. The company says it's not owned in any way, shape, or form by China. Its CEO just happens to be of Chinese descent. Is there any there, or, I mean, I can't even tell.
It seems that it may trace back to that CEO based on what has come up in those Senate hearings, his training in China, being recruited to a Chinese program, and also the fact that for a long time, according to the senators in those hearings, most of the profits from this company came from China. So there was clearly a Chinese connection at one point.
Well, hopefully the DOE will provide an explanation. Brian Enton, thanks so much. And you can tune in this Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern for Brian's special Made in America, Property of China, as Brian travels to small towns in the heartland that have created grassroots efforts to try and keep Chinese-affiliated companies from buying up land.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.